You wanted it, we brought it to you. This is the final prediction for Tank and Frank Martin. Obviously, you guys know that this is a mega fight. We got David Benavidez as the co-main event, but what's really gonna happen in this fight? We're here to break it down on Navs Fight Media. Let's get into it. Obviously, you guys know Tank and Frank is a fight that we've been waiting for. Tank has not showed up to the grand arrivals because he feels like the promotion hasn't been the best for this, but there's no doubt that both of these fighters have a lot to prove. You know, the real fans know, and if you're saying that Frank Martin doesn't have a chance, you're a straight up casual, because Frank Martin definitely has a chance in this fight, because everybody knows how good Frank Martin is. If you really watch boxing, you've watched his last few fights. Maybe his last performance wasn't his best, but you guys know that Tank's gonna be in for a long night against Frank Martin, in my opinion. I think this is stylistically a difficult matchup. It's like a movie, you know, at this point, you know, the way that Tank gives away rounds early on and then eventually stops his opponent. It's like a movie, honestly. It's like your favorite action TV show where the main character is always getting through every fight that he's in. Every time he engages with an enemy, he comes out on top. But, you know, this isn't a movie, and we have to see Tank against a very credible opponent. I think that this is arguably and probably the best fighter that we've ever seen Tank up against in terms of opposition, all things considered. You know, not having to deal with the rehydration clause and actually fighting at the weight class of 135. So it's going to be interesting. I'm just curious to see if Frank Martin can implement that right game plan and stay locked in. Don't give Tank that opportunity to get back into the fight. You know, if you're saying stuff along the lines of, you know, Tank can't afford to give up 3 to 4 rounds against Frank Martin, it's true, because Frank Martin's a different kind of fighter. If you give Frank Martin 3 to 4 rounds, I'm not too sure that Tank's going to be able to get back into the fight against Frank Martin. He's a different breed, I'm telling you. So Tank's going to have a little bit of a different sauce for this recipe, in my opinion. I think he's going to have to come with something a little bit different. Do I still favor Tank in the fight? Absolutely. I just think that it comes down to the moment. It comes down to factors like making 35 in a healthy manner. I just don't know if Frank Martin's going to be able to make 35 with ease. Tank seems like he's in shape, but ultimately it comes down to the moment. Psychologically, is he going to be there to just take an L, or is he going to be there and say, this is my moment, not let it affect him mentally? The fact that you're standing against, you know, a KO artist. Tank is a KO artist because, you know, all of the other fighters have failed to stay disciplined. They failed to stay patient. Tank even said it about Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia maybe could have landed something on me, but he wasn't patient. So Frank Martin's a different fighter, and I think he has a level head that could ultimately lead him to victory if done correctly. He has to do it the right way. If he tries to, you know, cruise by and thinks that just because he's winning early rounds that's the end of that, he's gonna be in for a long night against a guy like Tank, who's dangerous in all the rounds. And Frank Martin has said in numerous interviews that it's a gamble when he does that, and he's not going to be able to do that against Frank Martin, but he has to prove it in the ring. You know, a lot of people like to say, oh, Frank Martin's just talking, he's talking this and that. All the opponents have always said the same things that Frank Martin's saying, but no. This is a different fight. You know, we're in for a different fight with Frank Martin. This is the best opponent that Tank has faced when it comes to, you know, 135, when it comes to no rehydration clauses. This is the best opponent that Tank has faced, and I think it's going to be a competitive fight, especially early on. It's all about, you know, execution. You know, it's not a video game where we can say, Frank Martin's going to do this, Tank's going to do this. You can't guarantee. It's all about that night. You know, you have to take into account things like ring rust from Tank. He hasn't been in the ring for over a year, so if there was a time for Frank Martin to capitalize, it would be now. When Tank hasn't fought in over a year, he's dealt with legal issues, he's dealt with issues outside of the ring, inside of the ring. So I'm excited to see Tank and Frank Martin go at it, because honestly, this has the potential to be a really high-level chess match that still ends in a knockout. You know, a decision, in my opinion, isn't out of the question. It's more so, you know, Tank's tendency to close the show. I think he really wants to prove something to Frank Martin and stop him. So I have to go with Tank by stoppage. It's just, you know, sometimes talent exceeds expectations, and I think Tank is in that category where, even though he may have competitive rounds, his talent is going to carry him through the fight, in my opinion. I think it's just one of those fights that is going to be competitive early on, and Tank ultimately finds a little opening and catches Frank Martin. I think that's how the problems start for Frank Martin, and ultimately, you know how Tank is as a finisher. He's the best in the business, so he doesn't get paid for overtime. I'm going with Tank by stoppage in the 9th round. I think it's going to be a tremendous fight regardless. If we get a decision, it wouldn't surprise me if Frank Martin pulls off the upset. It wouldn't surprise me that much because I respect Frank Martin. I know how good he is. I just think that, if I had to put money on it, if I had to place a comfortable bet, there's no way I could bet against the power. It's just like that Devin Haney effect. As good as Devin Haney is, I wasn't, completely 100% sure that he would be able to negate that left hook, and he wasn't able to. So in the same scenario here, Frank Martin's a great boxer. He's a great fundamentally sound fighter, punches from A to B, nothing too fancy, but he gets the job done. That's what's important. He gets the W. But against a guy like Tank, a guy that is in a level of opposition that Frank Martin has honestly never faced before, and vice versa, it has all the ingredients for a great fight. I'm really excited for Tank and Frank Martin because there's a lot on the line. You have a guy like Earl Spence backing you if you're Frank Martin. You have Derek James. You have the corner and the support to do it. Like I said before, it's all about execution. Is the moment going to be too big for you? I know he has the tools. He has everything in the arsenal to beat a guy like Tank, but it's all about when those bright lights turn on and you know that Tank's coming in and everybody's screaming their name. They're screaming for Tank and they have their phones out. The arena's going crazy. How do you react to that moment? Are you going to shy away, or are you going to rise to the occasion and say, this is my moment, and take over and prove the whole world wrong? Because this is a great opportunity for Tank to shut everybody up, to say you've never beat a solid 35er, and at this point, it's also, on the flip side, a great opportunity for Frank Martin to shut up everybody that's been doubting him. Everybody's doubting Frank Martin, but the core boxing fans know that Tank has never been in a fight that posed this much threat as it does on June 15th against Frank Martin. It's going to be an interesting and competitive fight. I think that people who are sleeping on Frank Martin don't know who he is, and maybe just aren't familiar with him, because how could you know who he is and say he doesn't have a chance against Tank? You're talking about one of the best 35 pounders. Him and Michel Rivera was supposed to be a competitive fight. Frank Martin dog walked him like it was nothing. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see this fight. It's going to be a great event, a great night for the sport of boxing. It's all, like I said, it's all about execution. I'm curious to see the ring rust. Does that play a role for Tank? Is Tank having a hard time making 35, even though it seems like he's been around 140-ish for a while? It would surprise me if Tank's having a difficult time making 35 and Frank Martin's not. That would surprise me, but a lot of people are speculating the fact that Tank isn't showing up to the grand arrivals. He's doing these antics because he's having a hard time making weight and he needs extra time to get the weight off. That's what people are saying. I don't know how true it is, but ultimately, Tank even said it himself. The promotion for this fight hasn't been great, but still, no matter what, Tank has the opportunity on Saturday night to promote himself in a way that, no promoter can do it for him, and that's to put on a show. And Tank, he always delivers when it comes to these big fights, but like I said before, Tank is like one of those TV shows where the main character is always getting through every single battle. He finds a way to pull it out of the fire, gives up early rounds, but still comes out on top. Will he be able to do that against the most credible opponent, in my opinion, in Frank Martin? It's going to be an interesting night, but I still got to go with Tank. I can't see him, I can see a decision loss, but I can't see a stoppage loss in favor of Frank Martin. So, I could see it being a close decision, people thinking that Tank got the better of it. I still have a weird feeling about this fight, like something shocking is going to happen. Maybe we see a flash knockdown from Tank. He goes down for the first time in his career. This is all in play. A year off is no joke. I know that Tank was active. He fought Hector Luis Garcia and then went straight into that big Ryan Garcia 1.2 million pay-per-view buy fight. So I understand that, but still being inactive for over a year and dealing with everything that Tank has gone through, maybe Frank Martin has picked the right time to make this big fight happen against a guy like Tank. But I'm still gonna go with that power, but he's gonna have to find a way to land it, because Tank is fighting a guy who for the first time can match him in certain ways. Like the hand speed is there, the reactivity is there, the how athletic he is. Frank is also a very athletic fighter, so Tank better be ready for war, because I know that Frank Martin's going to bring it, because this is his moment. It's all up to him. He may never get a big fight like this again, so it's his prerogative and his responsibility to hop on the opportunity and capitalize on it, because if not, Tank is going to do what he does and get him out of there. If he even has one lapse of judgment, you know, one split second where he takes his eye off the ball, Tank is going to put him to sleep. That's just the way Tank operates. So Frank Martin, he has to be very smart, but he has all the tools to beat a guy like Tank. It's all a matter of execution, but I have to lean towards Tank just because of the power and how smart he is when it comes to setting traps. So we'll see what happens. Let me know in the comments who you guys got. Frank Martin versus Gervonta Tank Davis, June 15th. It's going down. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.
That's going to do it for another Nads Fight Media video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy, Matt Nabong, with another video. Hope you guys enjoyed it all. Thank you guys for the constant support. Salute to y'all always. It's been your boy.